So I faced something similar, as far as these viewpoints when I was younger. So what I'll state is this. I grew up in Alabama, so I faced a whole lot of racism growing up here since I was 4 years old. And so when I was 15, I liked the country, but I also really wanted to join the military, even though I was undocumented. Back then I was like, oh man, I want to be an officer in the military. I want to do like Rangers. I want to be special forces, shit like that, where I'd get like very patriotic. But it was because I desperately wanted to fit in. I desperately wanted to be accepted. I didn't want to be called an outcast. I didn't want to be called shit just because of who I was or looked down on. So I wanted to, prove myself to the point where people couldn't, bully me anymore about that type of shit. So my whole thought was I would do all these things to where nobody could question my honor. Nobody could come after me like that because they'd look like fools doing so. And, I would see people confidently state these arguments like, why don't they just come in the right way? It's just so easy. Even though it's not easy and it's not like filling out an application at McDonald's is very hard. Most people can't just come in the right way anyways. If they wanted to, it's not accessible for like the average person abroad, right? And you can look at stats and shit like that if you doubt me. But because I heard these arguments repeated with such confidence, I even started trying to debate family members being like, well, you could just do it the right way. And when they outlined the options available, I saw that it wasn't feasible. So it's like, even though people can condemn you and state it with all this confidence, like, oh, well, why don't you just do it the right way? It's just not that fucking simple. In any case, the validation, I eventually got that type of validation, not that I was seeking it, but eventually I got my green card, and then I wanted to, accelerate my naturalization. So I did join the military for that reason, and it sped it up. Although at that point, it's not like I was like bursting at the seams to need validation. I'd already gone through college and I was older and shit like that. So I was like 21, or closer to 22 years old when I joined. So eventually I did get validation for having joined the military and being in the service. But honestly, it felt very empty once I received that. I mean, I was proud of the fact that I finished the training and I got through everything, and that was nice because I was like, oh, well, look at where I came from and look at all the things I've achieved, right? But in terms of getting validation for being very American, I just felt bitter about it. And the reason I felt bitter is because I feel like I shouldn't have had to join the service to get proper, decent respect, I'm not talking about like that's how, like, military members do deserve respect because of their service. I agree with that, but not like just basic courtesy or not treating you like you're garbage because you're perceived as an outsider. And there's been times where it's clear that they don't like whatever stance I have, maybe politically or some conversation, but they also don't like the fact that I'm like Mexican, so they just, I can read that on people's face sometimes when I've interacted with them. But then the moment I bring up that I'm in the service and I'm a service member, well, their whole demeanor changes and they're like respectful and they're like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, why do I need to state that? Like, it's a shield for you to change your comportment. It's bullshit. I shouldn't have to do that. And what changed me, what made me have pride in my roots was actually looking at the history of it, actually learning about that, getting educated, doing a lot of genealogy, like I did DNA testing, stuff like that. This is a poster I designed. I became a professional genealogist. I got really good at that. That's another job that I do. But looking at the richness of my heritage is what caused me to feel pride in that. So I was like, why would I trade the beauty of this for something that I don't belong to? You know what I mean? So, because when you're rejecting something, it's harder to reject something if you know exactly what you're rejecting, And I know full well what all this is, so there's no fucking way in hell I would reject it.